I'm Chris McDonough, a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. Welcome to the interview room, everybody. As always, we're coming to you from an undisclosed location. If you want the truth about all things true crime, you have come to the right channel. The cases we review on this channel, the parties are always innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Sometimes that's not too hard. Here, you are safe and your opinions are valued, and please keep it classy. Tonight's guest, Mr. Billy Little. Have we got a show for you? Billy's not only a great American and friend, but he's handled 17 high-profile capital murder cases. Been there, done that. He's a retired military officer, and he has also served as a judge in the court systems in Arizona. He takes on cases to bring justice to those who do not have a voice. Thank you to all of our mods, Miss Sophia, Maui Girl, Stephanie Erb, Mamie J2, and Teresa Mulligan. A special thanks to all of our members, our subs on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, and Patreon. Together, we will move mountains in the names of justice. Let's bring in Mr. Billy Little. You like the sound effects, buddy?
Love it. You're the best.
Good to see you. You look great.
Seeing you. Oh, man, you look fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you. Yeah. Let me tone this down here for a second. So, anyway, so you've been going 150 miles an hour, and I am really excited about tonight's program. First of all, let's bring the viewers up to speed on, how you and Lou and your family and Greg and Dee's family are doing, because tonight we're going to cover Dee Warner, right?
Yep. Everybody, as far as health goes, we're doing great. We'll have a live Butters update to see how the dog is recovering from his surgery. And
awesome.
But we will we can't be doing 100% until this case gets resolved. The family can't have peace, and the community can't have peace until we get justice in this case. And that's what we're going to do.
Yep. And so maybe let's go ahead and lay down the ground rules here. Tonight, I know we've got some information that has been obtained, and you'll reveal that as we go along. But also, I know that you have on the ground have been doing, just tremendous amount of things. And folks, when you get a chance, go read Billy's bio. I mean, it's so extensive. I put it up there, but when you get a chance, this man is a great American. He's not only a Marine Corps officer. You were also in the Air Force for a while. I think a long time because you got out at the rank of colonel, if I remember right. But you're also a combat veteran. You came out into town. You're one of the most brilliant legal minds I've ever come across, and the fact that you have done this for this family after they called you up and they saw you on the Maya Miliete case and
Yeah.
said, "That's the guy we want," and so go
This
ahead.
is my least
What were you gonna
favorite
say?
part of the show. I wish we would not talk about me ever again. I just
I
want
know, but that's what I love about you. You're humble, and at the same time, though, you're a great American, and I've always been grateful for your service and every other veteran that tunes in with us here. We are so grateful, Billy and I'm speaking for him right now, but he's going to say his own piece because he's actually done the job. I have never done it. I came from two Marines, mom and dad, but Billy has actually been there, done that. He served all over this world, and he's a great American. And I just want to thank all of you veterans out there who have served this amazing country. We are so grateful for your service, and we will always create a safe place here on the interview room for you to come and to voice your opinion. So
yeah.
that
And
said,
your
Billy,
dad, can I just talk about your dad for 2 seconds? As long as you were talking about me, I'll talk. Your dad was in the Frozen Chosen, and all the military people want to understand what that means. And so we walk in the shadows of your dad. So I know he's no longer with us, but he's watching over us.
well, you're very
And
kind. Yep.
we'll all be there soon, sir. We'll come see you.
Yeah, exactly. And he just heard that, I'm sure of it, knowing him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me pull the. Is there anything you want to lay out, Billy, in terms of ground rules or anything? You're going to take questions as we towards the end, like we always do. And so, guys and gals, if you have something that you want to say, just if I don't get a chance to flag it fast enough, please forgive me. I'm trying to run the PowerPoint here for Billy, and at the same time, flag your comments. So if I miss it the first time, after the PowerPoint is over, put your questions up. Why don't we just hold our questions until the PowerPoint's over, and then you can put them into the chat, and I'll go ahead and pull them up and star them, and then we'll try to get through them. As always, our mods, look at the community guidelines down there below the link in this video. You'll see that we have some rules, and we like to maintain those rules here. And our mods, we have the best in my opinion, on YouTube, and we love them very much. We can't do this without them.
And
Yep.
so we are going to have a slightly different thing. So we don't use swear words on here. However, we will have recordings from people who are involved in this case, and they might use swear words. Okay. So if you have children, when we play those recordings, you don't want them to hear the swear words, turn the volume down or remove the kids. But these are not our words. These are their words.
Yeah, great point. Thank you so much. And we'll give you guys a little heads up when that's going to happen. When we get to the part where you'll see Billy, it'll talk about audio. There could be some appropriate verbiage in there, like Billy's talking cuss words and stuff, and we certainly don't want the kids or anybody triggered by any of that, so or offended by it for the children. So we want to make sure that this is not a kid friendly part initially through this whole thing. Great point. Okay, so let me get ready here on the PowerPoint here.
Okay.
I'm coming over behind the scenes. Okay, so I've got it up, Billy, behind the scenes, and I think you have some info, and I'm going to go ahead and follow your lead.
Okay. Well, we of course have to check in on Butters, who had ACL surgery a month and a half ago. And as you can tell by that picture that was taken yesterday, he is doing absolutely fantastic. And all the people that have sent their well wishes, we appreciate that. In fact, during this broadcast, you may hear him bark. He's also my protector. So thank you for letting me share Butter's picture. He's my hero. But
Awesome.
let's get serious.
Okay, tonight's topics.
Here we go. Here's what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to talk about good versus evil and review of the facts, web of support. That's Dale Warner's web of support. And there's a lot of people say, well, what can we do? What kind of steps can we take? So we're going to have a call to action at the end. We're going to give you some things, not a complete list, but a list of things. If you want to do something, if you want to be one of the champions, one of the heroes of this case, like many people have stepped forward, we're going to give you some ideas on what you can do to help. So, life is a constant struggle between good and evil. And it fluctuates. So, and we all have good and bad inside each of us. And it's a constant battle in life to do something good versus evil. And we make a choice every day. And just because we chose bad or evil yesterday doesn't mean that we can't make a different choice today. And this is a struggle that's inside of us. Remember that we used to have those cartoons about the good devil or the angel and the devil on our shoulders. There's a story in the Cherokee tradition about the good wolf and bad wolf that lives in all of us. Which one will you feed the most? That's the one that will survive. But this case in particular is a struggle between good and evil. Let me tee up. Can we go to the next slide?
To the back. Go back.
No, that's fine. You're right where we need to be. Thank you, sir. So, now we got to go back one. So, some of us are old enough to remember the Iran hostage crisis back in 1979. It's when these so-called students stormed our U.S. embassy, took hostages, including military people, the Marine security guards. They took them hostage for 444 days. Next slide. These people were held, they were tortured, they were blindfolded and handcuffed for days on end. There were mock executions where they would take them out, put a gun to their head, pull the trigger, and it was 444 days of hell. So this gentleman here is one of the Marine security guards. That is you see him wearing the USMC, the Marine Corps blouse. That is Steve Kirtley, a real American hero. And he was one of the hostages. He was a hostage over there. And I was fortunate enough to meet him when I went through the basic school back in 1987 and 1988. It's a 6-month school. So you get to know people pretty well. You go to the field with them. You do all sorts of things with them. And Steve shared with me a story that I want to share with you. And I think it's appropriate in this case. While he was over there, they at some point allowed them to receive letters from people at home. And so he would get letters and letters of support, well wishes, good meaning. We have your back. We support you. We're putting yellow ribbons on trees. We want you to come home. All of this. And he was very thankful for those letters. He appreciated that people didn't forget about him, that there were a lot of Americans that were supporting him. And he told me, he said, Billy, yes, fantastic. It was a great outpouring of support. But what I really wanted is somebody to pick up a rifle and come here and get me out. He wanted somebody not to send a letter, not to talk, but to take action. Next slide. So in life, during this battle between good and evil, it's not enough to say, gosh, that's horrible. Boy, I wouldn't have done that. Why doesn't somebody do about that? We all have a responsibility to stop talking and start doing. Chris and I, we don't get paid for this. In fact, I lose money on these cases, but it's not about the money. It's about doing something good in life, making this a better world. And this is not my community. This is not my state, but it is my world. And when I see something bad, I can't just walk by. I've heard stories about people who have seen a rape and they just keep walking by. That's not me. And I hope that's not you. When you see something evil, do something. Next slide. Yeah, this is a personal responsibility. This is not, well, the police will take care of it. Somebody else will take care of it. Billy and Chris will go and take care of it for us. No, we all have that response. It's a personal and individual responsibility for you to do the right thing. And so I'm asking that that's what we do here and every day, really. And again, if you did something bad yesterday, you didn't get involved yesterday, it doesn't matter. Today is a new day. Every breath is a new breath in your life. And the bad wins when the good people stop combating the evil. That's when evil wins, when the good people stop fighting the evil. And that's not my quote, but somebody said it someday, one day. You know, evil wins when good people do nothing. So let's do something. Next slide. We're very, very fortunate in this case.
I love this picture, by the way.
Here's some real heroes. Look like some crazy SEALs going out and putting their life on the line so that you and I can have the freedom to do these shows and go out and try to help people in our own way. But they're heroes in this case. And stepping forward in this case doesn't mean that there are no risks. There are risks when you step forward. There are risks to me. There are risks to Chris. There are risks to everybody in this case. But you have to have the courage to step forward. So next slide. That's the old Uncle Sam poster. And that is Greg Hardy, Dee's brother, at one of the rallies next to us. But Dee needs your help. Dee needs your help. This country and this community and the society needs you, needs all the good people to do good things. And we can help you do that. But you got to step up. Next slide. So, like I said, there are risks involved, and you have to be willing to accept those risks. It's important. What you see here, one of the heroes in this case, Catherine, and she's allowed me to use her name. Most you don't ever hear me say names on here because I keep sources protected. But Catherine Adams is one of the heroes in this case. She stepped forward. She she took over the Justice for Dee Facebook page, and she's helped a lot on this case. And what is her payback for that? Does she get any money? No. She, in fact, has invested her own money and her family's money in this case. She's not making money off of it. Is she living in that community feeling like, oh, everything's fine? No, she knows and accepts the risk. And what you see in this picture, that's Dale Warner.
Yeah, and the power of social media and these platforms, this is a tribute to her courageous her courage stepping forward on a social media platform. And what does she do? She looks in the rearview mirror, and there he is.
There he is. And I would say, it's 6 inches from her back bumper.
Yeah, that's a wow moment right there.
Yeah, yeah. Dale passing a message. I see you. I know who you are.
Yeah, clearly intimidating.
Yeah. And by the way, I've talked to other witnesses who have said that he's done the same thing, not just with truck, but while he's in his farm equipment, done similar things. So, yeah, do you think me and Chris don't get threatened? Of course we do.
Yeah, line them up.
Yeah. Hey, we're here. We're ready. We're in Michigan. We're in Michigan for this case, but I live in Missouri. We have Missouri justice out there. And so you want to come out to our neighborhood, come on. So we've got, I'll tell you how to get to my house. If you come down to the Ozarks,
No.
you make a left when you see, no, Chris, when you
I
see
know you. I know you.
When you see the police cars and the highway patrol cars, keep driving. Those are my neighbors. When you
Yeah.
when you hear the gunfire near the end of the street, you're getting close to my house because all of my
Yeah, just look
neighbors
for
are
the blue
shooting
dot.
every
It's a blue dot on the map. Just look for the blue dot.
and you just make a left and pull right in, and then you'll see a little tiny white light up, and that's the motion detector catching you. And
Yeah, I mean, internet MFM, MMA fighters, right? Gotta love them. Gotta love them.
yeah,
Job
yep.
security.
Don't, but it's
All right,
look,
next. Mhm.
yeah, we joke about it, but there are real risks in this, and we have had real threats. So, but guess what? Okay, uh, we're all going to die. I'm not worried about it. So let's do the right thing while we're here.
Yeah,
That
but
can be you.
just remember, and this is proof that while they're playing, this isn't our first rodeo, and we can play too. And by the way, now, hopefully the cops are watching this because this is the first time you've revealed this tonight. But you've known about it. We've known about it for quite some time. And hey
Yep.
Dale, by the way, you look pretty good with the wave going on there. Anyway, it looks pretty good.
Probably just being friendly.
And all innocent, right? All people, are innocent till proven guilty. But of course, everybody rides around and drives up on people's bumpers to try to intimidate them whose wives are missing. And, that always happens, right?
I mean, for all we know, he's flagging her down to give her a critical piece of evidence.
Yeah. wait. I love it. Okay, next
All right,
slide.
let's get serious. All right, let's review the facts, okay? Because some people don't know what's going on here, and I'm gonna run through these really quick because a lot of people have already seen this. So let's fly through this part. I'm going to talk fast. So here's the general timeline. We know that a month prior or so, Dale tells someone that he's going to kill Dee. We know that on that Saturday, she was crying and throwing up and upset all day, telling everyone she knew that she was going to divorce Dale and sell the businesses and get away finally. And then her friend says, "Well, I'll come and I'll pick up the young daughter." She was 9 years old at the time. "I'll come get her so she can stay at my house and she won't have to be a part of this." So the timeline starts that evening, Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Dale gets home. 7:42, the friend comes and picks up the little girl and takes her for the night, keeps her for the next 24 hours. At 8:34 p.m., there's only one person other than Dale and Dee on the property, and that's caught on a surveillance camera. Now, I haven't revealed who that was that he asked to leave the property that night, but I will later on in this law. I'm going to tell you finally who was that was out there in that garage area at 8:34 that Dale went out when he was wearing his shorts, no shirt, and cowboy boots, 47-degree temperature, and tells him to leave the property. I'm going to tell you that. So at 10:24, the friend asked Dee, wanted to make sure she was okay. "How are you?" No response for half an hour. A half an hour later, a text is sent back from Dee's phone that just says K. That's supposedly her response to "How are you?" K. Now, in all the thousands of text messages that we've seen from Dee, none of them say K. She was a very verbal person. She liked to text a lot. She liked to talk a lot. Not one K in there. So, and then mysteriously, just a few minutes later, her cell phone switches from Wi-Fi to cell, right? So there's some possibilities for that. I'm not going to go through them all, but that's a bad sign. Let's fast forward to that night. Now we got this blank time. That goes all the way up to 2:30 a.m. And at 2:30 a.m., her phone and her watch go dead forever, never to be found, never to be heard from again. Not a ping, nothing. They're done. During this entire night, the lights are on at the house all night. And we're going to go over Dale's story in a little bit, what he says happened that night. And we're going to compare that to the facts. And then we know that Dale leaves the house. And then Dale comes back at 4:30. And you say, well, where was he? Well, now we know. At least one place he was. We know that at 3:55 a.m., he was at his dad's house getting the keys to the chemical and equipment barn storage area. That was at 3:55. Now, according to Dale, Dee was asleep until 6 a.m., and so was he. But we'll get back into his story in a little bit. So then 9:30 that morning comes around, and Dee's daughter, her boyfriend, and the two grandchildren come over on Sunday morning for breakfast, as they do every single Sunday morning for breakfast. And Dee is gone. She's not there. They start looking for her. They can't find her. Dale's out spreading fertilizer in a field, right? And again, we'll get to Dale's story in a minute. And then at 11 a.m., as everybody is alerted and they're all looking for, where is Dee? They look in the office. They look around at the other places that she might have been. Nobody can find Dee. But what we do know is Dale has the $50,000 wedding ring with this large diamond that he pulls out of his pocket. So the ring she was wearing, he has on him in his left pocket, which, by the way, on the office security footage, guess what we see him playing with and in his left pocket? Then that's before he says to the people that were there, oh, no, I found this on my desk in the other room, in the other office. She left this ring when she left. Of course, there's surveillance cameras, and there's no surveillance camera of her going in or out of that office that morning. So
yeah, and he's standing there fiddling with the ring.
With the ring, and then sticks it back in his pocket. Yeah. I'm sorry, Chris, I cut you off.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Billy. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, it was apparently not the right time for him to make his play about she left the ring on the desk, because the family had already been in and out of his office, didn't see the ring. Of course, they weren't looking for the ring on the desk, but they didn't see that giant ring laying on his desk where he says that he found it. So he didn't make his play then. He plays with the ring. He puts it back in his left pocket. And later on, he gets one-on-one with one of Dee's sons and says, oh, yeah, she left this ring on my desk. Okay. So if there was a murder here, what is the possible motive? Was it, well, we're getting a divorce and there is a history of domestic violence we've gone over on past episodes. We know that this guy goes from 0 to 60 in a split second. You and I saw it.
Yeah, he went off on us.
Yeah, we actually have video of that. So,
so
we know who the guy is, right? So maybe it was, if there was a murder, maybe it was that, well, he just lost control. Things got out of hand. He, made a mistake and killed her. And we gave him that out early when we started this. We said, hey, you can take this and go. And he should have taken it, because it just keeps getting worse. So what would be a motive? So let's go to the next slide. Well, we know that Dee was 100% shareholder and owner of her trucking business that was supporting Dale's failing business. And this statement here, that debts in excess of $1 million owed by War Egg Farms, and that's the thing that Dee and Dale owned 50% each, was one of Dale's farms. And the farm services, they needed cash, so they got it from Dee's business. So Dee's business was supporting all of the businesses on that farm. So she had the goose that was laying the golden eggs, and she, by the way, she was 100% owner. So when she gets a divorce and leaves, that's bad news for Mr. Warner. Next slide. So this trucking business that she started, which was DDW Investments, and you see it in the red over there under May 10th, 2006. You see, again, that's Dee Warner. She created that, 100% owner, making money. And then we slide over to April 25th, and we see another red highlight, Todd Nairink. Todd Nairink was a dispatcher who had the argument with the in the days leading up to her disappearance. Todd Nayrink, who, by the way, now works for the trucking company who bought the trucking business from Dale, right? But how does Dale sell Dee's trucking company? He has zero ownership interest in it. So what he does in August 9th, 2021, is he creates a new business using that same DDW, but instead of investments, he changes it to transportation. He then transfers
Still married. Still married.
Well, she's gone, right? She's been
Right,
gone
but he's
now.
still married. Legally still married.
Yeah. But
Yep.
he creates a new company, and we'll get into the audio from Todd Nayrink later, because I don't want to get ahead of myself. So I'll leave. We're getting to it. But once Dale transfers all of the assets into his newly formed company after Dee goes missing, and now he's in a position to sell it. And in fact, after he loads down her business with debt, takes all the assets, creates a new trucking company, and then now a year later is able to sell the trucking business to a company called Laidlaw. And that's who Todd Nayrink now works for. So Todd was also the person who was at the house that morning that she disappears at 3:30 a.m. We're going to go over his electronic log. We're going to talk about where he went, and we're going to talk about the things he said. And they're not going to come from my mouth. They're going to come from Todd's mouth. So you're going to hear Todd in his own words tonight talking about all of the evidence in this case. And well, we'll get to Todd in a minute. I don't want to say too much more. Next slide. Okay. So that was motive, right? Motive is, I need money. She's going to take the money. There's a bunch of other motives. There was a serious dislike by Dale and his family towards Dee. So there were multiple motives. It's not like there's one thing, this or that. It's a soup, right? You can hate, you can dislike, you can want money, you can be greedy, you can be worried about your reputation, your ego, all of those things. So let's see. Dale actually made some statements. Now, I don't know that he's ever been formally interviewed or interrogated, but he has made statements. In fact, he made some statements to you, Chris.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about those in just a second. But his initial story was to not just one witness, but a couple of witnesses, was that Friday night or Saturday night was the worst fight of their marriage. Well, of course it was. Dee was upset, crying and throwing up all day Saturday, and she wanted a divorce. Yeah, that was it. That was the end of the marriage. That was the end of the businesses. She wanted out. But Dale later changes that story to, well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't such a big deal, right? He says, well, in fact, what I did was we had, a little minor discussion, and then I just gave her a massage on the living room floor. And after I gave her that little massage on the living room floor, I picked her up and placed her on the couch, where she then slept like a baby all night. And Dale's attorney comes out and says Dale's Apple Watch shows that he had the same heart rate all night. Well, we looked into that. His Apple Watch wasn't synced to his phone, so there's no valid reading from his watch. But nice try. And then,
well, I'm sure he's going to produce it, right? He's going to show us.
Oh, and by the way, Chris, is he welcome on this show?
Absolutely. All the 24/7, 365.
Yeah. Would you be willing to look at that evidence if they presented it to you?
100%.
Okay. So let's don't pretend like we're not being fair and looking for all the evidence. And the fact that you want to withhold it, that's, that's your right, but you got to take the shots too when you do that.
Open invitation.
There you go. So, and then his buddy there, Todd Nayrink, and you will hear him in his own words. He confirms that there was a confrontation that Saturday night. So that there was no confrontation story is not holding water, even with Dale's own supporters. So then Dale says, well, Dee was just asleep all night. And in the morning, when I got up at 6 a.m., she was asleep and snoring on the couch. We're going to break that down in a minute. And then after he leaves to go, spread fertilizer on the fields and is gone for a few hours, she must have driven the Hummer that was parked behind the house over to the office, somehow evading all security cameras so that it could never be seen driving, not headlights, not brake lights, no motion, but it gets to the front of the office about 100 feet away. And she must have done that for the purpose of going into that office and dropping that $50,000 wedding ring on Dale's desk. Now, interestingly enough, while she's in there, apparently leaving forever to run off to never be heard from again, she's conscious enough to drop that ring off, but she's got a bunch of cash in her desk drawer, but she doesn't take the cash. I guess she didn't need the cash to disappear forever. And again, she is not seen on any security video, not just driving the Hummer over there. There are video cameras inside the office area that are not seen. She's not seen going in there, dropping a ring off. And we already talked about.
And for the audience, Billy, for the folks that have never been here, give you a chance to grab a sip of water there, is, refresh everybody that the Hummer was parked by the back doors of her house, and it would have been easy to, remove her from the home, hypothetically.
Yeah,
right?
the Hummer was parked in the back there's a double set of French doors that lead into the living room where this massage and gently picking her up and putting on the couch, right where Dale says this happened. There's some double French doors right there. And that Hummer had been sitting there for a month because Dee ordinarily drove her Cadillac Escalade, which was still at the house. Like no vehicles were missing when Dee disappears. But that Hummer that had been sitting there for a month had been moved over to the front of the office, and the tracks that were in its place when the witnesses got there were JCB tracks. It's a front loader. The JCB had pulled right up to the place where she had been napping and snoring and gotten a massage and placed on the couch. But then the JCB was moved. And then when the kids are there looking for their mother, the Hummer mysteriously goes back and is put back in front of those French doors. And the JCB is moved because the JCB was also in front of the office area for a while. So maybe Dee drove both of those over there. Maybe she drove her Hummer and the JCB over to the office.
That's what he would have us believe, for sure.
Yeah, story.
But the evidence doesn't support that currently.
No.
Yeah. Unless his attorney's going to produce that evidence that can show us Dee moving that Hummer on video. That would be great. I'd love to see it.
I would love for them to prove us wrong. Prove me wrong. Yeah. I would love for Dee to come walking through the door and say, you know what? I somehow mysteriously moved that Hummer back and forth. I've been gone for a year and a half, not talking to anybody, none of my children, grandchildren, nobody, didn't take a phone. We'll get into that later. But yeah, please prove me wrong. My ego's not in this. I just want to do the right thing. So prove us wrong. But thus far, nobody has. So Dale also produces a letter that he says Dee wrote, and this was evidence that she was leaving. But that letter had been seen before, several years before. And the letter doesn't say, I'm going to leave and kill myself or anything like that. We produced that letter on past episodes. And then good thing for Todd Narenk, again, we're going to get into his audio, but he says, no, the note was written 4 or 5 years ago. So even your buddy there, Dale Todd, says that the note wasn't that day. So you producing that, well, let's ask a quick why question. We're going to do some more why questions. So if Dale knows that the note was written 4 or 5 years ago, why would he produce it when she disappears? Why produce it and say this was the note she left when she was leaving? Does he need to do that if she disappeared? Does
Yeah,
he
no,
need
that's a
to?
great question. And yep.
So, but Todd Narrant clears that up for us, and we know that the note was written, and other witnesses too, written several years ago. So then Dale
And
says Dee
another,
left. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, while
So
you're
you,
here, while we're still here, I just occurred to me another correlating behavioral analysis aspect here is you notice Dale selects the activity of a massage. Okay.
mhm.
That I was giving her a massage. Okay. I think that's really interesting that, Todd will, when you're going to get into that. I don't want to get ahead of you, but at the same time, I want the audience to see a correlation where, let's say this is what we would call a parroting story. And we've heard this numerous times, but so, items of parroting like massages and things like that are familiar to the individual, projecting that into the environment during a story of some sort. It's like, what, like, I see this person at such and such and so and so. Well, that individual has actually lived that experience and they project it into their narrative. And this is two examples of that. One is the note, and the second is the massage based on some of the things we're going to unveil here. Okay.
Mm,
Sorry.
okay. That's right. No, you're great. Thank you, because you're covering a lot of stuff that I'm missing. So Dale says that Dee left with a curling iron. Anybody that knows this woman knows that she is always dressed to the T, or the nines, I guess they call it. And she, in fact, on that Saturday, even though she was crying, her eyes were swollen, she got her eyelashes put on. She doesn't walk anywhere. She's a fancy woman, right? Nothing wrong with that, but that's just who she was. She liked to be made up. Even if she was going out to work on the farm, she would put her makeup on, get her hair done. But the only thing she took with her is not a bunch of makeup or beauty product. She takes a curling iron. Okay. We'll talk about that. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So later, the story changes, right? The story changes to, oh, no. She was seen on security cameras with 2 suitcases leaving the property. That is fantastic, Dale. Please provide us with that security footage. Please. If you say that that's what happened, give it to us.
We'll
And we
run
have,
it.
yeah.
We'll put it on, we'll put it right here on this platform.
I'd love to exonerate you. Please help us exonerate you. So show us that video with the 2 suitcases, with Dee leaving with the 2 suitcases. And if she wasn't leaving with 2 suitcases, why would you need to tell that lie? Why? Just
Yeah.
let the facts be what they are. Why do you need to say that story? Why do you need to say she left with 2 suitcases? Well, I guess because with that curling iron in hand, no car, no passport, no phone, no money, she went to Mexico or Jamaica. That's what he said to you, Chris.
Yeah. All right. And he said it in front of everybody.
Oh yeah, he said it in front of law enforcement and 10 witnesses. She must have gone to Mexico or Jamaica.
So there's
Well,
one
now that we've got,
problem.
what's
Go
that?
ahead.
No, you go.
What you're going to say. I know what you're going to say next. Somebody else said something different.
Yeah, his close ally says, Todd Narrant, now we've got him on tape saying, oh no, she's in Arizona. So she in Mexico, Jamaica, or Arizona? Where is she? Stop changing the story. It's getting hard to follow.
And he's on the security surveillance too. On the security, he's actually seen at the property, and now he's heard. He's
Oh,
going to
Todd?
be heard. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. Right.
we don't leave stones unturned. And yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, so the news story is Arizona, I guess. Okay, it's great. How do you know that? And where is she? And who's she with? Fantastic. Please. I go there all the time. Let me go find her for you. No problem. And don't think I've checked that out, by the way.
You know a couple people there, right, Your Honor?
I know 1 or 2 people there. So story's not holding water. So What is Dale's story? All right, we just went through some of it. But some of the important stuff, and I think this gets overlooked at times. So Dale says that she is asleep and snoring, sleeping like a baby at 6 o'clock. And when the kids come over about 3.5 hours later, she is gone forever. So what needs to happen in that 3.5 hours? Let's see. Next slide. So she wakes up sometime after 6 a.m. She grabs a curling iron, right? And keep in mind, she knows she's leaving forever, not going to contact anybody ever again. And she grabs her curling iron, but no luggage, contrary to what their news story is about 2 pieces of luggage. And she disposes of her phone so that nobody will ever find it, right? That takes time. So she had to go and hide her phone somewhere. For what purpose is unknown, but she hid her phone and she hid her Apple Watch so that nobody would ever find it. That takes time. We got 3.5 hours, Dee. Better get hustling. And that's 3.5 hours is assuming that the split second Dale walks out, she wakes up from her sound sleep snoring, in spite of the fact that they had a fight and talked about divorce and whatever, she seemed to just sleep right through it. No problem. And then she is able to, in that 3.5 hours, evade all surveillance cameras, drive the Hummer to the office, and maybe she drove the JCB to the office too, and then take the time to put a ring on Dale's desk, and must have like slithered against the walls to try and figure out how to evade the cameras. Well, why does she need to evade the cameras? Why does she need to evade the cameras if she's leaving forever? Won't we all know that she left forever? Won't we figure out that she's gone? And if you're leaving the ring on the desk as a message to Dale, well, don't you want him to know that you left it there? Why do you need to evade the cameras, the security cameras inside the office area? And on Saturday, I think this is the bottom point. On Saturday, it's an important point that on Saturday, she contacts everybody. I mean, we have the phone records. She contacts everybody by phone and by text. Everybody's close to her, talks to them about her being upset, that she wants a divorce, she's crying, throwing up. She's leaving Dale. She's going to sell the businesses. She contacts everybody, and she was talkative. And yet, on Sunday, none of these people does she contact. Never contacts anybody ever again. Seem to have changed from Saturday, where she wants to tell everybody that she's going to leave, to Sunday, all of a sudden deciding forever to not contact anybody ever again and vanish off the face of the earth without a trace from the middle of a farm out in Michigan. Next slide. Next slide.
Can you see that? No time for shower?
Yep. Got it. So, and she gets up. Remember, she gets made up even when she's going out to work on the farm. But that morning, she didn't have time, man. She had to be moving, right? So this woman, who is always dressed to the nines, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm not. But dressed to the nines every day, hair done, eyes done, makeup done, nails done, everything. On Sunday morning, when she's going to leave forever, doesn't take a shower. Where's the evidence that a shower was taken that morning? Where's the wet towels? Where's anything that's consistent with her behavior in the past? And do you think she's going to wear the same clothes 2 days in a row, a woman like that? So where are the clothes that she was wearing on Saturday? If she was murdered on Saturday, those clothes are critically important. The clothes you're wearing when you're murdered, key piece of evidence. So where are they? I'm sure that the police in a year and a half have looked for these clothes. I'm sure there's been a search warrant executed. Oh, we're going to find the clothes. We'll see. Already
Yeah,
talked
and
about.
let's not forget some of the other jewelry that she was having custom made.
Oh, yeah. No, she had a ring that was custom made worth several $1,000s that the jeweler contacted her on Thursday. Keep in mind, she gets in the argument on Saturday and is never heard from again. On Thursday's contacted, hey, your ring's ready to be picked up. She paid for it in cash. She leaves and never picks up the ring
Ever.
Doesn't get her money back. Let's say she needs the money to go live, secretly, in Mexico, Jamaica, Arizona, but she doesn't need that cash. She's got so much money, she doesn't need those thousands of dollars. And so when she's talking to people on Saturday and she's all upset, I'm going to leave Dale, we're going to divorce, we're going to sell the business, I'm tired of him, there's too much, whatever. She never says, I'm considering just disappearing. What if I just were to disappear off the face of the planet? Never mentions that. It's not in a text. There's no witness that says it. It was never a part of her thought process. Her thought process of leaving him, sure. Disappearing forever, not contacting your children or your grandchildren or any of your friends, any of your support. And then they were like, well, she must have taken off with a rich boyfriend or something. Okay. I've looked for that boyfriend. And I'm not going to talk about it today, but maybe if this case keeps going, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff we looked for in that and that the ways that we look for it. But there's no boyfriend. No boyfriend. She wasn't seeing a guy that she then took off with. That must have been somebody who had more money than him or whatever Dale's story was to these witnesses. And that's what he did say at some point. But there's no boyfriend. And if there is one, tell us. Who is?
Oh, come forward. Yeah, have him come forward. Somebody, if you know who this guy is, have him come forward. Because he doesn't exist. Right now, it's Santa Claus.
Yeah.
For the adults.
Yeah. Well, maybe we have not searched the North Pole. Maybe we need to put that on our list.
Right.
Mexico, Jamaica, Arizona, and the North Pole.
North Pole.
So there's no evidence of a boyfriend or accomplice. And the phone records we've scrubbed for the prior, who did she contact in the weeks leading up to this? No, there's nobody.
Yeah, the only other circle of influence in this are the folks around Dale. And they actually benefited by Dee's disappearance. And Mr. Todd, and I'm sure you're going to get into that, but let's keep moving.
Yeah. So what does Dale do after Dee disappears? Well, on that 8:34 p.m. on that Saturday night, there's only one person other than Dale and Dee on the property. And now I'm going to tell you who that is. That person on the property at 8:34, keep in mind that the daughter was picked up at 7:42 and Dee was hotter than blazes, ready to have that discussion, divorce, whatever. And if the people that know her know, she wasn't waiting to ease into that battle. That was going to happen immediately. So at 7:42, when the daughter's picked up, that fight is on. And that's when something bad could have happened. I don't want to make accusations on this channel. But then at 8:34, we see Dale out in the garage in this cold weather with shorts, no shirt, and cowboy boots, chasing off his son. Now, the families are close. I'm sure we all have family. Why? Why do you need to chase off your own son? Can't he come in the house and get a drink of water if he wants it? Can't he come in and say goodnight? Can't he come in and get a sandwich if he wants it? Why your own son? Why does your own son have to leave the property? Immediately after you have a big blowout with your wife, why do you need him to get off the property? And he wasn't even in the house. He was out in a garage/work area. Yeah. Right.
On video.
Oh, yeah, on video.
Yep.
Why? Why? Why do you care if your son is on your property? You never cared before, never cared since, but this one time you care? You got to run him off? On the night that your wife goes missing? Interesting. After Dee goes missing, Dale all of a sudden couldn't open his iPad because he had burned his own fingerprints off, according to him, with fertilizer. Very unusual because he always opened his iPad with his thumbprint. And now all of a sudden, when the police show up to look for his wife, he can't open his iPad because his fingerprints had been burned off. So his wife disappears the same time his fingerprints disappear. And then he goes to his father's house at 3:55 a.m. in spite of the fact that he tells everybody that she was asleep and he was asleep until 6 a.m. Well, you left the piece of the story out, Dale. And why would the lights be on all night if she's in there sleeping like a baby? You got the lights on. We have witnesses. Those lights were on all night. So interesting. And why not look for your wife? Why not look?
Once, just one time.
Yeah. Come on out. Help us. Help us find. Well, you've been on vacation in Mexico. Did you look for your wife there? No. But you went on vacation after she went missing. Yeah. Tell us, show us what you've done to look for her. We know you hired lawyers. We know that your lawyers hired defense investigators. What have they done to look for your wife? Give us that evidence. We'd love to. In fact, we invited the investigator that they hired to help us find Dee. Yeah. Come on, join the team. If you want to find the truth, if you want to find justice, come on. But they don't. Not interested. But when his wife disappears, he's out working in the fields. Another day, another Sunday for Dale, working in the field. And we're going to get into this in a little bit, but why do your phone patterns change? You call multiple times every day until your wife disappears. Why would you stop calling your wife? Oh, maybe you know she's not coming back. Maybe you know what happened, but your phone patterns change. In fact, when your wife goes missing and your daughter's not at home, why don't you at least try to check on your daughter? Is my daughter missing? Did she take the daughter with her? No. You didn't need to check because you know what happened. And when the police come to search your property to look for your missing wife, do you go out there and go, yeah, come on, let's find her? No, you kick them off your property. Why? Why do you kick the police off your property? All they're doing is looking for your wife. Don't you want to find her, Dale?
Yeah, and the other thing, Billy, that's really profound here is with the daughter, for an example, with mom being the primary caretaker, there's a lot of medical needs for children.
Mhm.
And I don't think he's ever reached out, to Dee to say, hey, is there anything I need to be aware of with the baby here? We're
Yeah.
not going to talk about the baby, but, the fact that she's, a young, child and mom just disappears and he knows where she went, allegedly, Jamaica or Mexico or, as Todd says, Arizona. Well, why not ask Dee for medical advice in relationship to your child? I mean, that every mother knows that. I mean, the chat room will light up with that,
Yeah. Yeah. Because she took care of the daughter every day. Why not check on the routine and the medications and the
She
school?
arranged for the pickup for that
Right.
night and
Right.
dropped her off.
Right.
Mama bear.
Yeah. So you're right. It's a great point. Why not try to check with her? No, you don't do that. We know why. You know why too, Dale. And then on Monday, she goes supposedly missing on Sunday. On Monday, he secretly meets with a guy to change the passwords and manipulate the camera on the security footage. Why? Why is that your main concern? Your wife is missing, and your concern is to meet in secret to change passwords on the security cameras. Why? Not looking for your wife, but you're changing passwords and manipulating security cameras. Why? On Monday, he goes lawyer shopping. Why? Why does he need a lawyer? Your wife's missing. And then when he makes his first attempt to transfer assets from Dee, presents a forged power of attorney. Why? Why, Dale? And then when asked to take a polygraph, refused. Now we know, because Todd likes to talk a lot, we know from the recordings that actually Dale did take a polygraph. So, and we've mentioned that in past shows. So Dale, produce that polygraph. We know you've taken it. Produce it. Why not sit down with the police? What do you care? It's not admissible at trial. Clear your name. Go ahead. And just show us the one that you already took. We know you took it. If Todd asked you to produce it, would you do that? Because he knows you took it. Next slide. We already talked about he created that new trucking company using that DDW name. Why use the same name? Why do you use DDW? Use a different name. Transfers the assets. Wipes out $1 million. Then sells the DDW trucking company that he created. He has her ring. Doesn't offer a reward to find that reward out there that you see for Dee. That's not from Dale. He's not putting a single penny into that. He hasn't offered it. And him and his family, they're offended by the Justice for Dee signs. Why would he be offended by that? Saying, well, it affects my daughter. Well, your daughter needs to know that somebody gives a dang about her mother, that her mother is loved and missed, and people are trying to find her. And doesn't the daughter want to find her mother too? Why would you stand in the way? Shouldn't the daughter be a part of these rallies? Yes, help me find my mom. Help me find out what. And why, Dale? Why do you say it was karma? She got what she had coming. We already talked about he didn't check on her. But we know this. We know that Dale moved the Hummer from the front of the office back to the house that morning. That we know 100%. Next slide. We talked about the phone calls. So here you go. I laid out just some. I could have laid a bunch of them out, but the slide would have been unreadable. So these are just the phone calls between Dale and Dee in the days leading up. The 24th, that was the last day that she was here on this earth. And so that was just a phone call between Dale and Dee. Next slide. Boom. Where are the calls? Just what you said, Chris. These changes in behavior, and he had a lot of them, changes in behavior after she supposedly disappears. If you know that you did something bad, your behavior is one way. If you think that she's missing, your behavior is a different way. Guess which way he behaved? She's not coming home. Okay, next slide. So what did Dee? There's a picture of some nails, not Dee's nails. I just grabbed that picture, but I talked about she always had herself made up. So here's what we know: no bank account, no cell phone, no credit card, no contact with any of her children, grandchildren, anybody, no passport activity, no clothes taken, no car taken, not seen leaving, never crossed a border, never spotted by any witnesses anywhere in the world. There's face recognition cameras everywhere, not spotted on any of those. Guess what, folks? She's not coming home. Next slide. But Dale couldn't operate in a vacuum. Evil doesn't operate in a vacuum. Evil needs oxygen. Evil needs people to support it, because when you starve the oxygen from evil, evil goes away. So evil, Dale, web of support. What is his web of support? How does he get his support? Well, let's see. Let's start with the easy one. Next slide. Yeah, there we go. Business associates. And I've reached out to a lot of them, and I'm not going to go into all of it because the show would be 10 hours long. So let's just focus on Todd Nehring. Next slide. Remember, Todd Nehring is the one who was the dispatcher and who benefited from the transfer by getting a job with Laidlaw after the business was sold. Next slide. Okay, this, if anybody can read this, it's an electronic log that truckers are required to have. And so this is the electronic log from the truck that Todd Nehring was driving that morning. And it tells us a lot of things. It tells us locations, time, speed, even down to the grid coordinates, so we can tell within a matter of feet where that truck was. Next slide. We know, and Todd posted this, and that he goes to a lime pit. He drives from the farm that morning, gets there at 3:30, the morning that Dee disappears, takes a load of lime up to a lime pit up at Burns Harbor, Indiana, and dumps it in there. Next slide. Then he goes another 50 miles or so to a wastewater treatment plant to pick up compost where human waste has been turned into pellets. They turn it into fertilizer. He goes and picks up this compost and then brings it back. So he goes to drop off lime, pick up compost, and then drive back home. Next slide. Well, we know at 3:30 a.m. when he gets there, that's the first one, he's the one that tells us that all the lights are on at the house. He doesn't go in the house, according to him, but he knows that he tells the police that all the lights were on at the house. And then something interesting happens while he's driving. You're required to log in as a truck driver on these electronic logs, right? In the old days, people would just handwrite it and they would cheat and lie and, do whatever because they are limited on time and some other rules. So now they have to do it electronically, and it's the log forces them to do that. And so he did log in, but he didn't log in as Todd Naring. He logged in under somebody else's ID. Now, next slide.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Next slide. So that's a violation of federal law. And there were other violations of federal law. I didn't want to list all of the violations that are here in this. But I think this one is significant, that he is willing to risk federal imprisonment and fines and violating federal law for the purpose of logging in under a false name on the morning that Dee disappears. Why? Why would you run that risk? Why would you lie? We know you lied. Why? Why'd you do it? Next slide. Now, here's the interesting part. So we're going to get into some of Todd's audio.
Yeah,
So-
and let me lay the foundation real fast for the new folks that come in. We've got we got 1,800 people right now, and so this is the part, guys and gals, where Todd's getting, he's with a woman who's massaging, okay,
Yeah.
and so we have audio.
Yes, we do.
You've cut it, to make it clean and family friendly. But still, we do not want children, around listening. So
We're not going to play anything that has anything to do with any sort of sexual activity. None of that. Right?
yeah,
So
no, we're going to stay within the guidelines of YouTube and everything, and the community as a whole, and to respect for Dee's daughter as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But unfortunately, Todd is stuck.
he's a lonely guy.
He's a
So
lonely
he
guy.
he pays women to touch him.
So
So
I'm gonna
this,
follow your lead.
okay, next slide. And before we talked about heroes in this case, before anybody starts judging this woman, and I tell you that we're going to talk about the police interaction with her later, or lack of interaction. But I tell you, this woman is a true hero who has taken a stand and is concerned about her personal safety. But she's taken a stand for what's right in this case. And she did all of us a favor.
Yeah, and you and I both know, Billy, we've done this a couple of weekends, and some of the most valuable information that can ever be collected in a suspicious circumstance like this comes from those, folks that you would least expect, but they're the ones that solve, a lot of these types of crimes like this, because, unfortunately, the people that are, get caught in that web don't realize that, the cops should be talking to them first. I mean, how many cases have you handled where your star witnesses have been, somebody with a questionable background. I mean, let's look at, Epstein, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Done. So anyway, she's a real hero. I agree 1,000,000%, and I want to.
She's a hero. I'm very thankful for her coming forward. We should all applaud her. And by the way, biblical quiz for you, Chris. You ready? I'm going to put you on the spot. We didn't prep for this, so here you go.
Okay.
Who is the woman who is mentioned the most in the Bible?
That would be Naomi.
Mary Magdalene.
Or Ruth. Mary Magdalene. Yeah. Whosoever hath not, let them cast the first stone. Got it.
So sorry, man. I know.
That's okay. I was going to go with Ruth as well.
Right.
But
well, that's the name. Yes, maybe the
at
name.
Least I knew all three women in the Bible.
Yes. Well,
many of them.
I don't challenge you on those things. You're smarter than me about that. But
I don't
know. A hero in the Bible as well. The person that closest to Jesus. I don't want to make this into a religious show, but Mary Magdalene was a hero, and this lady here in this case is a hero as well. So next slide. Okay, so Todd. Now Todd has said all along, nothing to do with anything. I got nothing and nothing. So let's hear what you have to say. And I don't know what the volume's going to be like, so we may have to play some of these twice if they're not too clear. So Chris, can you help us on that first one? Here we're going to have some cuss words. So warning.
The volume will be great. You ready?
Hit that first one.
Oh, I'm involved like a motherfucker, right up to my ear.
Okay. Interesting, Todd. So I guess you are. It's going to get worse. So, and by the way, we gave Todd every opportunity. We didn't have to do this tonight. Gave him every opportunity to talk, to come clean, to do what the right thing is, but chose a different path. So now the question is, well, Dale said, well, there was no argument that night, that my heart rate stayed the same, right? Because in an argument, I'm sure your heart rate would go up. But no, everything was fine. There was no argument, no confrontation. Well, Todd, what do you say? Was there a confrontation?
That they had planned on a confrontation that evening. And I think you've told me that.
Oh, yeah.
Oops. Well, Dale, these are your buddies. And then we talked about this one about Dee going to Arizona. First it was Mexico, Jamaica. So Todd, why don't you tell us where she went?
Where do you think she could have gone?
Arizona.
So now she's in Arizona. Okay. Where? Go ahead. Love to hear it. Where is she? Next slide. And some of these, I'm not going to play the clips. This needs to be handled by law enforcement, but we've talked about it. Really significant, that first one. And that's a federal issue. So it's not just the state police or the local police now that are involved. It's federal people. And I'm not talking about this task force involvement here in the state. I'm talking about real federal people involved in this. Because according to Todd, Dale created that new trucking business to evade the taxes that were owed on the last one. That's called tax evasion. You're not supposed to do that. Even if you need to sell the trucking company to make money, you're still not allowed to evade taxes. But Todd tells us that's why Dale created the new company. Also tells us
we have that, which you've turned over, or we have it, and you've, if necessary, I don't
want to talk too much about that because I know that the feds are involved. So I just want to let that sit there. And then he talks about Dale taking a polygraph. We've already talked about that. We've got that audio that Dale was tracking. We talked in past episodes about domestic violence and stalking. We know that Dale placed that device in Dee's car to track her down. And so Todd likes to talk a lot about how Dale needed to follow Dee around because, according to, he didn't trust her. He needed to see what she was up to, what she was doing. So he was stalking. So Todd confirms the stalking behavior. Now, if you're worried, if Dale is worried about if Todd is working with the feds on all of these federal issues, or is he really your buddy? Well, let's ask Todd. Todd, are you working with the feds?
You have to have information that you can share to help solve this whole thing.
I've shared the guys from the FBI.
With friends like that, Dale, you don't need enemies. Not me. That's your buddy, Todd. So I don't want to talk too much about their involvement. So because I just don't want to say too much about that. But just keep in mind what I said on the very first broadcast we did. It is quite likely Dale's going to get more time for the financial stuff than he is for any sort of homicide charges, right? And boy, he's going to wish he had taken our offer early on to clear this up. So he could have cleared this up before this got this far, but he chose a different path. Thank you, Todd. Thanks for sharing that with us. Next slide. So that is his business associates, and there are others, right? I didn't want to make this too long, but I left some out. Some people were right on the line, very tempted, but don't want to make this go on forever. So maybe next time. I got some other people. So if you're out there, I know who you are. I got recording, so don't worry about it. Next slide. Who would be some other people in the web? Well, that's a weird one, isn't it? The law enforcement. What does that mean? His web of support by law enforcement. Are they, working in cahoots with him? Are they on the take with him? Or are they just incompetent? Or what is going on? So let's explain in detail what we're talking about, how law enforcement is part of Dale Warner's web of support. Next slide. Okay. Lead detective is Kevin Greco. He's with the Lenawee County Sheriff's Department. Let's see what he's done since he's been leading this investigation. So next slide. All right, now this clip is a little bit longer than the others. This one's about 1.5 minutes, and I have 2 little speakers on there because I'd like to play it twice. I know it's going to be 3 minutes, but just in case you missed something, maybe you want to hear it twice because there's some important stuff. So Todd, why don't you tell us what's going on with Mr. Kevin Greco?
This detective, who's been dating my cousin, by the way, ever since this all started. It's just my cousin. My aunt called me one night, and it's like, do you know this Kevin Greco? I said, yeah, he's been, and this fucking guy has been, and he's the one that, when they came and took my phones, he's the one that signed the search warrant. This guy that's been dating my cousin for like a year. And it's like, isn't that just a little bit of a conflict? If he was smart, he should have reclused himself right from it once my name was even mentioned. When do guys... So he's been to my cousin about this whole thing. Because she told me, oh my God, that's not right. No, it's not.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
So he was seeing your cousin before this started.
Right. The sheriff's detective should have, first word out of his mouth was, I can't be a part of this because I'm dating his first cousin. This isn't like a second or third or fourth cousin. This is like a first cousin who I've known, she was like close, and so then, but see, it's small town America, Lenawee County. A detective like that in Lenawee County, that's their career case. That's big dick syndrome and the whole bit because, they don't get these every day in Lenawee County.
Right.
I don't think we need to hear that again. I think that was pretty clear. I mean, there was some garbled stuff in there from the digital recordings, but that's how digital recordings are. I think the important parts were pretty clear. So maybe we can skip replaying it. What do you think, Chris?
Sure.
Or-
No, I think it's solid.
Okay, so let's just go to the next slide if you can do that without.
There you go.
There we go. So again, this is, remember this Todd and Eric, remember what he said. He's in this up to his ears, right? But I mean, there's a lot of people that agree with Todd. And Todd says that him dating the first cousin of a witness who was there at 3:30 a.m. logging in under false names on the morning that Dee disappears probably should have recused himself from this case, right? Next. Yeah. And these are Todd's words, not mine, right? I know the sheriffs are going to be upset, but hey, just passing on to you what people are saying. Todd is one of the witnesses. And by the way, I happen to agree with him, should have recused himself, should have said, I can't be a part of this. You're right, Todd. Good call. Next slide. And then an interesting thing that a lead detective is discussing the case with non-law enforcement, people linked to the case. He's discussing the case with her. And by the way, we're going to get into it. It's not the only person he's been discussing the case with. Next slide. And they don't get these cases very often. And guess what, Todd? You're 100% right. They don't. They don't get nobody homicides very often. Now, they have had one other one. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But they just don't have the experience. And when we came, Chris, you and I came with, what do you need? What do you need? We have experts, we have assets, we have people that are experienced in these types of cases. And all they did was question our motive. What's in it for you? You just want to be the guy that solves it and make us look bad. And no, I've been taking it very easy on them. So I think my tongue is bleeding from biting it so much, but we tried to help them because they're not experienced and they don't know what they're doing. Right? Next slide.
Yeah, and I want to say one other thing about that point, Billy, is the fact that we bent over backwards on numerous occasions to say, guys, this, how do we help? I mean, we were the ones that sat there and got him to say Jamaica and Mexico right in front of them. And they grabbed it, they ran with it. And of course that's in the in basket. But at the same time, all of this information, all of the things, that have been gathered here, there are so many problems that have not been addressed. And you have been on the ground, from day one. I'm popping in and out, but together, collectively, we have this PowerPoint, the last couple of them, as a collective effort in relationship to the evidence that just you've uncovered and we've discovered together. And we've said to the LE, guys, what's up? Let's hook it up. And then all of a sudden Todd's laying on the massage table and like a light goes off. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. Homicide 101 or missing person 101 is if there is a conflict of interest in relationship to an investigator, they've got to recruit, they got to step out.
Yep.
And they need to check the ego at the door and let somebody else take over the investigation, i.e. turn it over to MSP or the FBI or whoever it needs to go to. And this is evidence of that.
And look, I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm not trying to say I do anything great. In fact, I don't like it when you talk about me doing anything outstanding. But what I do care about is justice. I do care about fairness. I do care about getting murderers off the street. And I'm going to keep working for that. I don't care what you think about me, law enforcement. I don't care how much you criticize me. It doesn't make any difference to me. It's not about me. This is about Dee and her family, not us. We need to start rowing in the same direction. Get rid of some of the amateurs. And we've been very patient with them. The family's been overly patient with them, in my opinion. But when this lead detective, when you tell them, hey, I got, witnesses or people that maybe you want to talk to about Dale being at the farm at 3:55 a.m. that you didn't find, you didn't interview, and I'm going to take a little credit. I did, right? Well, you don't go, okay, yeah, we'll get to it on Monday. These are the manana investigators. And when I say, oh, hey, by the way,
And that's in the last
Yeah.
PowerPoint. I love it.
yeah. By the way, there's somebody who Dale confessed to saying he was going to kill Dee. You don't go, okay, well, we'll get to it on Monday. Everything is Monday, manana. And by the way, if it's an idea that they have, then they're happy with it. If it's something that you and I come up with, all they do is criticize. Come on, guys, it's amateur hour. Knock it off. Let's get busy. Let's get in the battle for good and evil. So, no body homicides. There've been 2 here in Lenawee County. The Skelton boys, Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner. God rest their soul. 2010, Thanksgiving, 2010. Guess what? No arrest. Law enforcement is 0, evil is 2. Let's change that scoreboard. Let's change it. We can do that here in this case. They haven't solved any no bodies, and they don't get them very often, just like Todd told them. They don't get them very often. It's okay. There are people who are experts in this. Let them help. If you don't like me, if you don't like Chris, fine. Bring in the experts on these no bodies. Because all we did was come here and try to help you, and all you guys did was turn away the help. Unacceptable. And I've kept my mouth shut.
They did take initially. Initially, they did take. Remember, they didn't reciprocate, but they did take, and that's okay, right?
Yeah. So yeah, they promised. Oh yeah, we'll take these phones. I said, okay, I'm gonna give you the phones, and all I want is that we get the Cellbrite downloads. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem, whatever. That was March, I think 8th, right? No, never. You lied to us. Stop it. Let's get on the same team. I don't care if you like me or don't like me. I don't care if I like you or don't like you. It has nothing to do with it. It's not about us. This is about the community and the family and getting justice.
Right.
So let's get busy.
Follow the evidence. Whether it's a plus or minus. I mean, you've had me on the stand, Billy. I mean, right? If I didn't, am I a straight shooter? Do I tell you, like, hey, I don't know it, or you know what, this is the way it is, and unfortunately, it goes that way. It goes that way sometimes, but it is the evidence, and it stinks sometimes. It smells, but it's what the truth is. That's the truth, and that's what we're seeking, and we've always been doing that. So
find the truth.
0, evil 2.
And Chris, you know this better than anybody, better than me. These cases, as law enforcement, you are an impartial fact investigator. You find the facts, and if they fit the elements of the crime, then you make an arrest and you give it to the prosecutor. Your job is not to go out there and criticize and comment on evidence and dislike Billy and dislike Chris, and do your job. Do your job. Knock it off. So 1.5 years, knock it off. Go do your job.
And tell them why. What have we discovered?
Oh, yeah. So the recordings that we have, and I have more recordings, but I'm not, going to share them with everybody for obvious reasons, but I've shared with you some. But when this massage therapist goes to the police, goes to Kevin Greco, he laughed at her. He laughed at her. He did a telephone, not even an interview. He's asking if she was a psychic. She had recordings. He didn't obtain a single recording. She had recordings from before I got involved. Of course, she did more after I got involved, but she had these recordings and she wanted to help. She wanted to be on the side of good. Greco obtains not a single recording, not a single piece of information from this critical person who, if you don't like her, if you don't like what she does, okay, that's your business. It's not your job to judge people. It's your job to collect evidence, collect facts. And these recordings are evidence and they're facts. And your failure to follow up on that shows your lack of experience. So it's fine. You don't need to have experience, but you do need to be able to open your mind up and ask for help when you need it and to do the right thing. And if you think it's a 9-to-5 job, well, it's a government job and 9 to 5, overtime isn't allowed, whatever. You're in the wrong line. You're in the wrong line of work. Don't be a homicide investigator if you think you can do it 9 to 5. You think I work 9 to 5 for zero pay? No, there's no end to the
And
work
you're
on
out
you.
there. I know. Exactly.
Oh,
I know. And this is all for the victim. This is all for the victim. And had this person said something, or if we would have discovered even more against Dee, we'd be presenting that as well, because that's the truth and the evidence. But it is, and unfortunately, we had to put this slide up. We hate to do it, but this slide was necessary in this case.
No, we have been holding off on this for a long time for a lot of reasons. One is we don't want to hurt a prosecution. What if the prosecution comes in now and goes, well, okay, detective, you're so genius, up on the stand. Did you bother following up on the mistake? No, I didn't. Well, that's a mistake, right? And they start impeaching his credibility. Well, you're giving it to him. Don't help the prosecution. Start doing things right. I don't want to help the prosecution. But I also can't let this just continue to go on. This needs to change. And Todd knows it too. You think the fact that you were dating one of the witnesses' first cousin who he's close with isn't going to come out by a defense attorney on the stand? You're crazy. They're going to impeach your credibility 20 different ways, and that's one of them. So you think you were going to avoid
used to call that getting fonged.
What's that?
Getting fonged. Remember Mr. Fong?
Getting fonged.
You guys used to fong us all the time. It was like, holy cow, I just got fonged. It was like,
it's brutal. It's brutal. And this case is going to be no different. It is going to be, you're going to get an experience, because experienced people do these homicide cases. You're going to experience defense attorney. And if you think you're going to be able to hide this stuff and let it slide by, no, you got to face it front on. You got to be honest about it. So time's up, Greco.
Right,
next slide. So,
and there's more.
Oh boy. Just when you thought we were getting off of Greco, there's evidence not just of, homicide. There's evidence of multiple crimes, and it's been 15 months and not a single arrest for any crime by this team. Why? Conflict of interest that Todd Nayrink calls out, but no recusal. Why? We talked about the importance of somebody's clothes that they're wearing when they're murdered, right? Where's the search warrant for those clothes? Why is it 15 months and there's been no search for those clothes? Why? They've never driven the route driven by Todd Nayrink that morning up to the lime dump, up to the wastewater treatment plant and back, and the stops at the truck stop. He never drove that route. Why? This is a financial crime. Even the part where harm came to Dee, it was a financial crime. But you haven't yet conducted a forensic audit of the businesses. According to Todd, that this is tax evasion. That there was a forged power of attorney. That debts were wiped out without corresponding accounting entries. That there's something funny going on. Why have you not done a forensic audit of this? Do you need the expertise, right? If you do, we can help. There's a lot of people out there every day in this country doing forensic audits of businesses. Is it a money thing? Is it an experience thing? Or is it that you just don't know what you're doing? Or is there another answer? And here's one that is going to be damaging to the prosecution. Very damaging to the prosecution. So Greco has gone around and talked about the information and the evidence in this case. He's been critical of the witnesses, and not with law enforcement, with other people. He's critical of the information. He's critical of the people. And I'm not just talking about me and you. He's critical of key witnesses in this case, and he spreads that around town. Are you trying to help the defense? Why, in what universe is it okay for a law enforcement officer to criticize and critique evidence, information, and witnesses out in the community when you're going to need to go to trial? And again, what is the first thing that defense attorney is going to do? Hey, well, this witness said X. Well, you were lead detective. What was your opinion about that? Well, you thought that there was no credibility in that, right? Are you trying to tank this case? Are you trying to destroy the prosecution in this case? I don't understand. Really don't. Are you really that inexperienced that you don't understand the effect? Have you never been to a trial before? Don't you know that you don't do that? It's unacceptable. Yeah, I just talked about that. It's frustrating. Law enforcement should never show up in a web of support for somebody who is a target of investigation. Never. Next slide. There's a whole bunch of other people. And again, I didn't list all of them. I just threw some people up here. So the business deal, the lawyers, the business deal that went through with the sale of the business to Laidlaw. Look, as a lawyer, you get to pick and choose your clients. You're not required to represent anybody. I've had murderers come to me, offer me $500,000 in cash, and I've turned them down, right? You don't have to. There is no amount of money that requires a lawyer to represent anybody. But this Duzma character helped Dale with the sale of the business, the sale of the trucking business. And the family involvement, the father, John. We know that that's where Dale was that morning at 3:55 a.m. We know that the son was on the property. Now, I'm not saying the son had anything to do with it. I'm just saying that the son has his back, as maybe family should. But without all of this support, and Mark Weisberg, we know, is the guy convicted of embezzlement for some other state crimes, but who Dale brought in to help him with the books, right? He's now in there working the books, this convicted felon. So, but if you take away this web of support, and there's more people, if you take that away, it dries up. Next slide. Okay, what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and go, wow, that's interesting. Wow. Gosh, it's really horrible. Huh? I'm glad I don't live there. Wish those people would do something. No. We talked about it up front. You have a personal responsibility to do something when you see something is wrong. You think I'm going to be a very popular after this podcast? No. Police officers are going to dislike me, and witnesses are going to dislike me. I'm going to get more threats, but you got to step up. And by the way, let us talk for a minute about the criticism of the detective in this case. If you think we don't support the police, you're sadly mistaken. Chris is a retired homicide detective, and I can tell you not that long ago a story when my wife and I were in a parking lot, and I turned around and there was a car trying to drag off a police officer hanging out the window of the driver's side. Didn't even think about it. I just ran over to the cars 100 or 150 feet away, opened the passenger side, drugged the guy out of the car, and got on top of him. We support our police. And in Missouri, we do. The police support us, and we support the police. It's a two-way street. So there's no criticism of law enforcement in general. There's no reason that people should be shooting police in this country, putting their lives in danger. They risk their lives for us, and we support them. But you got to do the right thing.
And I'm working active murders now. And Billy, I'm working active cases right now with cold case. So this is just, one of the things. Of course, we back the blue. This is what we do. But at the same time, we're also honest. And, there's back in the day, there's, if you didn't get out of your car and want to meet with people, well, guess what? That guy writes tickets all year. And that's all they do. but there's
Yep.
also a time and a place, and we're not saying that we're not backing them. In fact, what we're saying is there's time to still fix it and do the right thing. That's what we're asking for. A call to action is do the right thing, whether you're a PD guy, the lead investigator or whatever. And he knows, because I talked to him one-on-one. And this is no surprise. What was a surprise is for Billy and I to discover this stuff and go, what in the world is going on? Okay. And that's what we're talking about. That he needs to straighten it out. And the sheriff is invited on this show 24/7, 365 to explain any of this. Where I open up this platform, to Sheriff Bevere and to Greco. If they want to come up here with you and I, all four of us will talk about it. But at the point of chasing the evidence for Dee, i.e. why she missing, this is what experience brings to the table. This is what experience brings to the table. And so, there you go.
Well,
I hope it's up on it.
yeah. So for
That's
the
just
people that are on this channel that follow you, I know those are the people that when they see an officer being drugged by a car, they're not just going to look at it and go, well, boy, that's a shame. No, they're going to do something. So here's what we're asking. And so it's discouraging in these cases. Sometimes it looks like evil is winning. It's been 15 months, no arrests. We know there are crimes out there, but nobody has done anything. There's been no arrests. It feels like there's no justice, no fairness. Evil seems to be winning. But when it looks like evil's winning, what do? Next slide. You can make a difference. You can get involved. There are things that you can do. You say, well, gosh, I don't know what I could do. I don't know. I mean, what can I do? Can I send, a couple of bucks to Chris McDonough to help him, with his gas money and that gas hog he drives around? What can you do? So I'm not going to leave you hanging. Here you go. Let's list some things you can do if you want to make a difference in this case.
Call to action. Number one,
Yeah,
contact LE.
Contact law enforcement. You're allowed to do that. Do it. Ask them, what's going on? How come you're not moving? How come you're not working with other experts to get this thing resolved? Do something. Why is Greco still on the case? You call them. Ask them your questions, not mine. If you have questions, ask them. Contact. If you have information about the case, call them. But don't, if you call them and you get laughed at and call the psychic and you need to call somebody else, well, yeah, of course, I'll take the call and I'll come and meet with you and I'll talk with you. I'm not going to laugh at you and judge you. Contact law enforcement, super important. Number two, contact the prosecutor's office out here. Ask them why they haven't moved on it. And they'll probably say, well, we don't do anything until we get the case submitted to us by the law enforcement. Well, why haven't you started working with them to get that done? They're people too. They're in the system too. Contact them. Ask them your questions, not my questions. If you've got questions for them, urge them to do the right thing. Three, contact elected officials. There are elected representatives. There's state representatives, state senators. There's federal from this state, senators, representatives. There's governors. There's attorney generals. You have a lot of elected officials. In fact, the sheriff in this county is an elected official. Contact him. If you want to help get some information, seek it through FOIA. And you say, well, gosh, FOIA seems intimidating. I don't know how to do that. Guess what? We'll help you out. Next slide.
There's a rally.
Go to the rally. Make a sign. And by the way, this justice for Dee has cost the family thousands and thousands of dollars. There have been billboards put up. There have been signs put up. They've hired people to do things, not me and Chris, but they've hired people to do things. that have cost them thousands and thousands of dollars. If you want to help, send them a few bucks. Send the money to the Justice for Dee campaign. Come on, man. We'll spend money on $5 or a Starbucks coffee. Skip a coffee. Send $5 to the Justice for Dee campaign. I'm not making any money off of it. I'm not doing this for my benefit. I genuinely care about the family, and I hate to see this injustice go on. There's a rally next Monday, August the 1st, at the old courthouse in downtown Adrian, here in Lenawee County. Come to the rally. Let your voice be heard. Next slide. There you go. Here's a couple of people that have stepped forward, who have been champions in this case, who have been pushing it, who need your help, right? But they can also help you. If you don't know how to file a FOIA request, send Melissa or Catherine, send them an email. There's their email address. Ask them, what can I do to help? How do we get justice for Dee? How do we resolve this case? It's not about punishing the police here. It's not about punishing somebody or accusing somebody wrongly. Everybody gets their day in court, like Chris talked about early on. But if you want a society that we all want to live in, get involved. Contact Melissa, one of the heroes in this case. Contact Catherine, another hero in this case. There's Dee and Shelley, her sister-in-law, Greg's wife. Yeah, she needs you guys. I can't do it all. Chris can't do it all. We need your help. Wow, that was a long one.
That was a long presentation. Well done, my friend. Well done. Well needed, unfortunately, sadly needed. Sadly. Yeah. Because all of this point to this point, you know, all of the crimes, quite frankly, that have been uncovered here could have resolved this pretty quickly. But that said, okay, so I just went real fast. Let's take a breather for a second, and everybody kind of chime in for a minute while I set up to, if I've missed your super stickers and everything, please forgive me. I am so sorry. I was, just trying to run through this with Billy, and forgive me if I have not put it up here. But if you did put one in there, can you just don't do it again? We don't need it, but just put your question in there, and hopefully I can tag it. But let's see where you're from. We've got almost 1,800 people in here. Kind of everybody weigh in, and we're thankful. We're thankful that each and every one of you are here tonight on behalf of Dee Warner. We just are honored that you're here. Corpus Christi, Texas is in the house. Minnesota, Connecticut, Razor, thank you for being here. Utah, Salt Lake City, aloha. Minneapolis, Kelly, AK Mama, I love you. Minnesota's in the house. Arkansas, Northern Kentucky, great state of Florida. Dexter, Maine, Signal, Montana, Tennessee, Mountain Tennessee, Missouri, Michigan, Tuscany,
Missouri,
Canada, Rhode Island. That's awesome. Massachusetts in the house. Billy and Chris, be safe. Yes, absolutely. We appreciate that. That's why you have HR 218 or 15 on the books, federal crime. New Zealand, St. Petersburg, Michigan. It's great to see everybody here tonight. California, Ireland's in the house. Top of the morning, Mexico, love our Mexico folks. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Many blessings from Southern California, Kentucky. So let's see here. 20 minutes from Dee. Alaska. Australia. I always like to do this to kind of let everybody decompress for a couple of minutes. It's a lot of information that came at us. And New Hampshire is here. And of course, always, Bob, always. We love our Australian friends and our friends up in Canada. Thank you guys so very much for always being here with us here on the interview room. We are so grateful to each and every one of you. We can't do any of this, obviously, without your support and quite frankly, even supporting the law enforcement agencies where you are at, individual agencies where you're in where you are living. It is imperative that we back the blue 1,000%. But then it's also imperative that we tell the truth. And sometimes, just like anything else, one bad apple can create a whole basket to look bad. So let's not do that in our communities as well. And if we see it, then we're going to call it as it is. It is the truth if it's the truth. And wherever the evidence takes us, we're going to head that way. So let's put up a couple of questions now for the next part of this. We're already a little out, hour and 51 minutes, and I know these run long sometimes, but I start a couple here already. Thank you, Chris and Billy, for everything you do. Thank you for your appreciation. Always the greatest mods. I cannot disagree with you. What about Greco's oath? I'm going to answer that from a PD guy. Great question. Great question. You're right. We take an oath to the Constitution to follow the evidence, whether it's a plus or a minus. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and it's our responsibility and has always been, Investigations 101 is gather the evidence, whatever it is, and present it to the courts and let the attorneys battle it out. That's what our system is designed for. And that's why Lady Justice carries a set of scales and she wears a blindfold, because it's our responsibility to put those scales or put our evidence in front of Lady Justice and put it in front of Billy and others. And by the way, just so just if you just joined with us, Billy was also a judge in Arizona. And so he's had it from all sides, from the investigative side, from the defense side, from the prosecution side, and he's also sat on the bench. So he knows what he's talking about. And we're grateful that he's here with us tonight on behalf of Dee Warner. So the question is, how can the public help? And I think if you go back and watch the rerun of this, you'll get it. So right here, this is a good question. Is it true that defense attorneys can let defendants admit to the crime to the attorney, then get on the stand and state their innocence? You want to take that, Bill?
Yeah, it's a question. So an attorney is not permitted to allow a client or anybody else, a witness or anybody, to commit perjury. So if you feel like you're going to do that, you can't out your client, right? Because there's this confidentiality. So what you've got to do at that moment when your client commits perjury is move to be released from the case. You must move to withdraw from the case. You can't say I'm withdrawing because he's lying about it. You just say I have to withdraw from the case. And the lawyers and the judge and everybody will know what that means, but you can't say it. You can never reveal a confidence like that. So, yeah, you can't put a lying witness or a client on the stand.
Okay. And here's one for you, Billy. Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you, Cher.
Yep. So let's see here. I got another one here. How can we get justice for Dee signs to display on our properties up in Michigan?
Contact Catherine, that email that we flashed up there. Maybe we want to put that slide up again at the end, if that's possible. I don't know, to get that so that they have some points of contact, because people are going to have questions. What do we do? How do we do it? So Catherine Adams, she can get you some justice for Dee signs. Yeah. Come on, I am the storm.
Joni says, thank you. Thank you, Billy.
Thanks, Joni. Thanks, Joni. Help us, Joni. We need your help.
Here's the question. Do they have morals?
That's
a great
it's a
question.
judgment call. I'm not here to make that judgment call. I'll let you all decide that.
Yep. And love to Butters.
Oh, thank God for Butters.
So here's one. Does Dale have anyone close he may have confided him?
Yes.
I love it. The other one was morals and ethics. Are there any ethics left, right?
I don't know. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to say, well, gosh, there's no justice. Hoorah.
There's a devil dog for you.
Hoorah, I love it.
So a lot of these folks are they're thanking you, which is well deserved. If they ever go missing, they'll call us, right? Butters and Buddy rule.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Look at that poker face. Yeah. Oh, let me tell you something about this great attorney here, and he won't say it because he never does. Info on the concrete slab. Remember we talked about the concrete slab the last time, and then I'll tell my piece. Do we have any follow up on that? It was right after she went missing.
Yeah. I'm not ready to comment on that right now. Right. So yes, we haven't given up on that. So, but I don't have a follow up for you. Sorry, Peggy.
Okay. Who is this one right here? Sorry about that. Who is the current Lenawee County attorney?
Shoot.
You met with him, right?
I met with them. I wish I was smarter.
Okay, it'll come to you. It's going to come back to you. It's going to come back to you. Okay. How do we get the FBI involved? Well, they're already involved. We've met with them. Yep.
Yeah, on a couple different levels. So.
Question: have they searched his dad's property?
Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? I mean, that's just another frustrating part. Yeah, put together a good case. Let me ask this. Is there anybody out there who thinks, is there any doubt in your mind what happened here? Not specifically how this and how that, but is there any doubt as to that she's not coming back and that she was harmed? Oh, here it is. And I know, and I'm embarrassed because I met with the guy, but Burke Castleberry, Burke, last name is Castleberry, Castleberry. That's the prosecutor in Lenawee County. So,
okay. And to answer your question, there's a lot of no doubts coming in. I.e., no, everything that you've thrown up here. And remember, we did on the first presentation, we did a poll, which was the first ever in I think on the internet about what you guys thought. And we put it up, and 99% of everybody says there's no doubt that we were on the right track. And then there was one guy.
One no vote.
One no vote.
Thanks, Dale.
It's like, seriously? One no vote. Oh.
Well, I don't think
first on the internet. Come on, the Indiana girl. First on the internet. Well, have you taken a poll of anybody on the internet? Just out of curiosity. I mean, it's okay to say that, but okay. Next. There's no doubt. So here's a question here. How can we get justice for Dee signs to display on our property? I already put that up. And we go back to the emails of the gals and then come to the rally. I'm sure there'll be stuff at the rally.
Oh, yeah. Come to the rally. Everybody will be there. It's going to be a big crowd.
Okay, so there's a question for you, Billy.
Close to his property. I'd like to get these people on the phone, because what I don't want to do is help Dale by giving out information on here.
Okay.
Yeah. So if
Thank
you, I'm sorry, what was the last question? But if they could contact me, and you can get to me through Catherine or Melissa, they have the contact information. So I'd be happy if you're out there searching properties and areas. Love to sit down and chat with you.
So, question: do you feel there are multiple arrests, at least 3? Question mark.
Is there probable cause to make arrests in this case? Yeah. For more than one person? Yeah. So, but that's, and if these people don't want to do it, then we need to get people in here that will. So we need to take some other legal action to get this resolved. If you're not going to move, you're too afraid or inexperienced, or for whatever reason don't want to, then we'll get people in here that do. So we're not out of this fight by a long shot. So if you think we're going away, guess again.
Yeah, no, it's we're not going anywhere. Trust me. Yeah. Let's see. Why can't Michigan State Police take over? Well, it's still under the jurisdiction of the sheriff's department, so the sheriff can make that decision. He could actually hand it off to the task force 100% and let them run with it and recuse themselves.
Yeah, they could do that, but right now they haven't done that. So, but Michigan State Police, they're involved. They just are in a supporting role, not taking the lead. Scott, I actually think that's a great idea. I think they should take over. I think their level of experience is higher. Their budget is bigger. I don't know, their training is better. I mean, I would. And that's not a slam on the local sheriff's department. That is to say that, if you need more resources, or you're not exactly sure, or if you got somebody with a conflict in a case, then you can reach out to other law enforcement agencies. And that's what they're there for, to support you, to support us, right? But in this case, to support you. Let them take it over. Let them do the whole thing.
Here's one. Why are these guys not arrested for tax evasion? I'm convinced this guy needs to be arrested. It's a great question, Justice. It's a great question.
Yeah.
Why did Todd make a run under another name in the night in question?
Yeah.
Another great question.
Great question. You got some investigators on this channel, don't you?
I tell you, these gals and guys are like amazing, and they're all from, there's a retired cops, there's lawyers, there's everybody in our chat, and they are really smart. Many times much smarter than I'll ever be, but they're really smart. Has Todd obtained a lawyer? Yeah, he has a lawyer. He's speaking for him.
No, you're thinking of Dale.
Dale. I'm sorry.
No, so
sorry.
And I didn't share all the recordings, but according to him, in his recordings, that these lawyers that work at Laidlaw are going to help him out if he gets in trouble. And if it goes too far, he's going to do some other stuff, to me and you, Chris. So don't worry about it. He knows people that are going to take care of us. So, yeah. Okay. Not the first time either one of us have heard that, huh?
Yeah. I mean, get in line.
Right.
How many cartel cases do we do in SoCal, right? And you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Exactly.
You and I, we've done organized crime. We've done cartels.
You haven't lived until you've walked into a Vadio that is literally 5 generations deep. And they were the original, for the Arellano brothers. This gang, all the original cartel hit guys came from this area. It's called VPLS. It's Vadio Pasole Locos. Okay. Them and Logan Street from San Diego. And you haven't lived until you go into the Vadio and you see 187 McDonough spray painted on the walls.
Yikes. Right. Tell them what 187 means.
It's kill me. Right. And so they
That's-
lied at me. They lied at me. They green lighted me. And, I went to a different level at that day, but that was years ago. And now, it's all about respect and, just keep everybody, the worst thing we have to, we worry about here on the doggone YouTube is the craziness of people that just lie. They lie and but who cares? That's their life. I'm here. I'm worried about Dee. I'm worried about Summer. And just like Maya, when we were working Maya behind the scenes, and you were on the front lines on that one initially, Maya's case was moved because you were in the house before anybody, even the cops, and it was like, okay, here we go, crazy time. And when my phone rings and it's Billy on the other side, I'm like, oh, this is going to be really fun, and so this just keeps getting better.
I'm
So
surprised you answer the phone anymore. As much mess I've gotten you
love
into.
you, brother. You know that you're an amazing human being. Let's see here. Why did Todd make a run? Okay, we already answered that. So if the 49 states start bombarding about justice for Dee, will it make a difference? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't think people, that's something that people do. Like, well, I live in Hawaii. So, what can I do? What difference can I make? No, this is a universal fight for justice. Everybody can make a difference. And just because you live in a different state doesn't mean you can't make a phone call or send an email. Doesn't mean you can't, attend a rally or provide some financial support to the team. So heck yeah, man. Pearl, I like the way you think. Yeah. And by the way, you talk about other states, there is some national media attention coming out very soon. So there are some of these TV shows, and maybe we could promo them next time, but and let's don't get off on me. We talk too much about me, Chris. It doesn't matter me, but this case is driven by the facts of the case.
Is the state attorney aware of it?
I have no idea. That's a good question.
This one, does Dale have girlfriends since he was surveilling Dee?
Another thing that I've been trying to track down. But I mean, if I'm going to just be honest, I've looked hard for that. I didn't find any girlfriends. So, and it's not that I didn't look.
How long does an electronic log work? And if there are any ex-girlfriends, please reach out.
Yeah, feel free. You're allowed to do the right thing today as well. How long does electronic log work? I'm not sure what the question is, or how does an electronic log work? It's a device. So truckers used to have a log book that they would handwrite in, and the feds found out that everybody's just writing whatever the heck they want in there. Yeah, yesterday I drove for an hour because I don't want to run out of time that I can drive a truck, or I lost my license or whatever. So this log book, they found they were making. Now there were federal penalties for even making false entries in the written logs, but then they started requiring truckers to have these electronic logs because they saw too many people were cheating. So you get in there, it logs everything. It logs once you start the truck, when you turn it off, where you're going, how fast you're going, how long you're gone. It's basically like a fancy GPS for truckers, because there are federal regulations, because we don't want, we want the roads to be safe, right? So we don't want people driving too long or too fast or whatever. So they're required to keep these logs. I don't know if I answered the question or not. And by the way, I didn't know before I got on this case how they were, so I had to get trained by people that are good in trucking, like Catherine and her family and some other people. So I'm learning just like you all are about the trucking business.
Yep. So this is more of a comment. It takes a while to build a circumstantial case. Hopefully they're just getting their ducks in a row to guarantee he doesn't walk.
I hope so.
Yep. With no body and with his movements being accounted for on the night in question, shady, but doesn't prove anything. I don't know what kind of case you have. Okay, Mark.
Okay. So that's why let's talk about circumstantial cases for a minute. It's a good question, Mark. So we know that he has misled us, right, on some things. We know that That's why I listed all of her passport wasn't used. There's no bank account. So people think circumstantial evidence is not real evidence. So once you accumulate enough of this evidence that can only be explained in total by a homicide being done, then, and you get a specific circumstantial evidence instruction at trial. And generally the judge explains it with the raining example. If you don't see the raining, if there's no witness that it's raining outside, but you go outside, the streets are wet, the grass is wet, your car's wet, everything is, that's circumstantial evidence that it rained. And you, as a juror, that is real evidence. That is not some kind of fancy, made up, make believe evidence. Circumstantial evidence is just a name for evidence that has to do with the circumstances, like the grass being wet, the street being wet, but it is real evidence. And in this case, there is a mountain of circumstantial evidence, more than I've ever seen in a homicide case. And if you're waiting for a body to be found, that's not required. No body homicides are prosecuted successfully every day in this country. There are people that know how to do it. And if you've never done one, then you can ask somebody to come here and help you. And that's sort of what we've been trying to do, help them understand this. But there are prosecutors that they can contact that will help them understand this. His movements being accounted for on the night in question, that is part of the circumstantial evidence. That is, you said you were asleep until 6 a.m. and you went to the fields, but you were really over at your dad's house, right? Your electronic data shows that you were not at home when you said you were at home. And you combine that with the fact that his wife disappears at that same time, along with all the other stuff, it is enough to get a conviction.
And here's another lawyer agreeing with you 100%. The mystery, she's awesome.
Mystery Maven.
Yep, she's awesome.
Oh, these circumstantial cases are brutal because there's just so much evidence, right? If you get a confession case or an eyewitness case, you think, well, that should be stronger. No. These circumstances, just like the Mystery Maven said, these circumstantial cases are devastating, absolutely devastating when they put them out there. And in law, as the Mystery Maven will tell you, if you're explaining, you're losing. And now you're going to have a defense attorney up there trying to explain away all the little pieces of evidence. And after a while, they got zero credibility. But she's absolutely right.
Yeah, here she just chimed in again. It's like one stick is easy to break, but stack them all together, it's hard to do.
Yep. And they're going to go into trial and try to break one stick at a time. And what happens in trial is that they'll lose all credibility. Okay, well, it's possible that, the person was mistaken that he saw him there. Okay, well, because that person, is a jerk and somebody said he's a liar. Well, if you have to do that to 50 pieces of evidence over time, the jurors, you'll see them. They literally cross their arms and lean back in their chairs and stop taking notes. It is like, and when you see that, and it's tough when you're the defense attorney and you see that, you're like, uh-oh, this is really bad. You're done. You're toast. Yeah.
And thanks for the question, Mark. Here's another. What about the fire on the property?
Yeah, there's some fires on the property. There was a house that was burnt down. Because just remember, it's not just Dee that he's got to get rid of. He's got to get rid of the phone, the watch, the clothing. I assume the clothing. We'll find out if the police ever go searching for it. He's got to get rid of a lot of other stuff, and fire is a good way to do that.
Moonlight says this case served on a platter. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, let's get on with it. I got paying clients I need to get to.
Yeah. I wonder if that truck was checked into a weight station.
I didn't see that, but I've got every GPS coordinate where that guy went that day. So I didn't see the weigh station.
State attorneys have jurisdictions over the sheriff.
Well, come on. Thank you. Well, come on, state attorneys. Let's go.
Yeah, This more of a comment.
Somebody contact them.
Yeah, it says the Attorney General needs to know. If you know somebody, send it up the chain of command.
Cherry, come on, help us out, Cherry.
Let's see. What could cause the watch and phone to stop working at the same time?
Let's see. What a weird coincidence. Boy, coinky dink. What a I don't know. They switched from Wi-Fi to cell at around 11. Let's see. That's one reason for that could be that they were turned off, right? And then why do they go dead forever? Because their power source was eliminated.
This one, Lime question.
It's a good question. Good.
Great question.
See, yeah. Now Kathleen thinking like an investigator.
Yeah, and Betty says someone turned them off. That's right. Good point, Betty. Awesome.
We should have let Betty answer the question for us.
Exactly. Okay, so I've kept you here 2 hours. The rally is August 1st. Please correct me. Nope, that's correct. The rally is August 1st, and we're going to put information about the rally in below when we're done.
Chris, can you flash Melissa and Catherine's email up there again? Do you have that technology? It's one of those slides.
Yeah, stand by. Let me.
I believe it's the one with the rally information on there too.
Yep. Hang on. I've got to do some of this in the background.
I know your young tech assistant is now no longer with you, is he?
Yep. Stand by. Let me get this going. Share screen window. That one right there. There it is.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, so melissa.mosier, mosier.216 @gmail.com, and then Catherine, Kathryn .adams639 @gmail.com. Call to action champions. These women are amazing.
Thank you, Melissa and Catherine, both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, they've done so much for this case.
Brave warriors.
Okay, Billy, as tradition always holds here, you get the last word, and then we're going to all go to Hawaii. And so what stands here tonight is open invitation to Sheriff, Greco, anybody else that wants to talk about this from Ellie, from DA, or anything like that. Billy and I are available. I know he is. 24/7, 365. I'm just a little bit older than him, so I'm not going to say anymore.
Okay, Crutch.
Feel free to reach out, Billy. You always amaze me, and I know I'm not going to say anymore because you're not going to let me. But at the same time, how grateful I am to call you friend. How grateful I am to you and Lou. And by the way, our wives are also superheroes because number one, they put up with us, and number two, they support us. And yeah. I know you married so far up. It's, you can't see straight. So
did you.
Karen is sitting. Oh yeah. I know I did. She's amazing. And she keeps handing me these little notes, about things I should say, and I follow her lead. So anyway, God bless you, brother. I'm going to sign out here. And when you're done, you've got the last word here. We're going to go to Hawaii. Everybody, thank you so much. Please share this video out with all your friends and neighbors, and justice for Dee. Let's keep this moving. Attend the rally. Reach out to Catherine and Melissa as necessary. And hopefully we'll get to see you up there. So Billy, you've got the last word.
I love you, Chris. Thank you so much for doing what you do for this country. And if you think we're going anywhere, you're sadly mistaken. We're here till it's over. Justice for Dee, there will be justice. Justice is coming, as I always say.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.